This video took 3 hours to produce. It wasn't easy to make, and I hope you all will like it.
I never imagined that one day I'd be called to school on the phone because my son had performed so poorly in the exams. What's even more unexpected was that when I marched into the school full of bravado, all set to give that little rascal a good scolding, I was greeted by a group of parents whose kids were also academic underachievers. And my ex-girlfriend, who was stunningly beautiful, is Samuel's parent here. If you are, come and collect his placement test papers and the class's grade report. The woman speaking didn't look up, but I was all too familiar with that voice. It was exactly the same as when she used to whisper in my ear. I had an uneasy feeling in my heart. I tiptoed over and took a furtive glance, but I lost my nerve just from that forehead and those eyebrows and eyes. I could tell exactly who this person was. Sophia, my ex-girlfriend whom I had broken up with 5 years ago. I just never expected that we'd meet again in such a situation. And on top of that, I had a son who was dragging me down. The only thing I was glad about was that my son looked like me. I didn't dare to respond. I pulled down the brim of my hat, walked over, took the few pieces of paper handed to me by those slender white hands, and then hid behind the other parents. I took just one look down. I almost wanted to crawl under the table. The younger generation is really something. Yes, in the first grade of primary school. Where all on earth did this little troublemaker manage to get such scores? I could at least do better than that when I was his age. Sophia had finished handing out the test papers and briefly explained the situation. The parents invited here this time are all those whose children ranked among the last 10 in the exam. The placement test doesn't mean a whole lot, especially since it's just primary school, but I still hope that all parents will pay attention to their children's basic knowledge. After all, doing poorly in an exam is a minor issue, but constantly knocking a child's confidence is a big deal. I didn't really listen to what Sophia said after that. All I could think about were the words. Among the last 10, my heart couldn't help but tremble. I picked up the grade report and silently counted my son's ranking. Well, great day from the bottom. Samuel is really asking for it. Sophia's voice was cool yet gentle as she talked about the issues of different children. I secretly looked up at her and couldn't resist muttering a curse. Unbelievable, time really spares some people, doesn't it? Sophia's face was just as radiant and charming as before. One look and she was still as captivating as ever. And there wasn't even the slightest change in her skin condition. The only thing that might have changed was her demeanor. In the past, she was cold and aloof, keeping people at a distance. Now, she seemed a bit more approachable. Thinking back to those days, every time she stood on the podium and gave a speech to the whole school's teachers and students, I'd excitedly introduce her to my classmates, saying, "Look, my girlfriend is so gorgeous." Who would have thought that a few years after our breakup, she'd be standing on my son's podium, shining brightly? Sophia really seemed to be worried about undermining the children's confidence and also wanted to offer some comfort to the parents. She even came up with some titles like Hygiene Star and Diligent Star, especially for a group of students who were struggling academically. My little troublemaker was on the list. Much to my chagrin, he got 3 out of the 5 awards. I clenched my fists in frustration. Just then, "Which one of you is Samuel's parent?" My body stiffened, and I didn't dare to make a sound. Sophia asked again. The parents looked around at each other, wondering, who is it? Why isn't anyone answering the teacher? I forced myself to stand up and deliberately cleared my throat. "I'm here." Sophia paused for a moment, and her gaze slowly swept over. Samuel's parent? I gritted my teeth. Yes, the corners of her lips, which had been slightly curved and made her look approachable, straightened immediately. She exuded the familiar coldness that I remembered. I didn't dare to speak and was too embarrassed to look up at her. After a long while, she spoke again. "Although Samuel's grades aren't very good, he's really excellent in his daily life skills. Could you share your usual teaching methods with us?" I forced a stiff smile. Sophia must have recognized me. His question was definitely her getting back at me. Just because we broke up, She's making things difficult for me like this if she ever found out that Samuel was her son. Consequences would be terrifying. No, I couldn't think about it, and I didn't dare to either. As for her question, I let him do everything he's capable of. Kids are much smarter than parents realize. I almost squeezed out the last few words through my teeth. Sophia's voice was still cold. He is smarter indeed. Me. I suspected she was mocking me. But I had no proof. Sophia picked up the grade report again. Her red lips parted slightly as she read out all of my son's subject scores one by one. When I heard his English score, my eyes lit up. Not bad. He actually passed the English exam. I never managed to pass it myself. Sophia, it seems that Samuel's grades are inherited from you. Inherited from me? He ranked 3rd from the bottom. I at least ranked 5th from the bottom back then. For a moment, my inner rebelliousness flared up in a moment of impulse. I blurted out without thinking, "You're welcome. You deserve half the credit." The noisy office fell silent. Instantly, dozens of pairs of eyes stared at me simultaneously, with a look of shock as if to say, "What on earth are you talking about?" I also realized what I had said. Goodness. Before anyone even suspected anything, I'd already given myself away. With this kind of crazy move, it seems that my son's intelligence really is inherited from me. I was on the verge of tears. "No, teacher, please listen to my explanation. I meant in terms of education. Both genes and education are equally important." This explanation was so weak. I didn't know if she believed me or not. She just gave me one more look and then continued to talk about the other students. Soon, she finished going over everything, and the other parents left one after another. I tried to hide myself among the crowd and slip away with them. I took a step forward, but I didn't move. I took another step. Still in the same place? I turned around nervously, and sure enough, Sophia had hooked 2 fingers into my backpack, planning to run away. To be honest, back then, I couldn't get enough of being with her. If she had said that then, I would have happily gone to KFC with her, but now, I couldn't avoid her fast enough. I explained awkwardly, No, I'm not running away, ass, just that we're dismissing as usual. I said the wrong thing just now. Don't misunderstand me." Even though I said that, my legs stopped moving involuntarily. "Okay, I won't misunderstand. Then you explain to me. We've been broken up for 5 years, and you have a 6-year-old child. How did that happen?" Sophia asked me in an inquisitive tone, as if she was discussing someone else's business, but I understood the hidden meaning behind her words. Because according to my son's age, he was born right during the time when Sophia and I were in a relationship, so from Sophia's perspective, it really seemed like I had moved on without any gap. Fortunately, at that crucial moment, a familiar small voice sounded at the door. "Daddy, you're here. I miss you so much, Daddy. I'm hungry." He truly is my good son. He managed to get me out of a tough spot at the critical moment just for this. My son's bottom is safe tonight. I forced a smile that was both awkward and polite. "We can't let a child go hungry. I'll take him home for dinner first. Teacher, please don't see us off." "Goodbye, teacher." After saying that, I turned around, picked up my son, and ran, not even daring to look back. Finally, when I reached the school gate in one breath, I completely relaxed, and just then, my dear son in my arms suddenly spoke. "Daddy, what's wrong? Did Teacher Sophia want to talk to us about something? She's following us." Me. I secretly looked back. Sure enough, Sophia was following unhurriedly. She was already tall and slender, and with me carrying the child. She was walking almost as fast as I was running. There were less than 20 meters left between us. I was so scared that I threw my son over my shoulder and rushed into the car. I started the engine. Whoa, turned the steering wheel and stepped on the gas. In just 3 seconds, all that was left for Sophia was the exhaust fumes. It took a long time after I got home for my wildly beating heart to finally calm down. It's not that I'm a coward. But Sophia is just too meticulous and persistent. I still remember that when we were dating. Once, when I was playing a mobile game, I teased Jack and said, "Hey girl, let Big Brother take you on." As a result, she caught me on it. "Girl," she said it so smoothly, "it seems you've been playing with other girls quite often." And then, I called her into my arms and called her sister 10 times with a blushy face before she reluctantly calmed down. Just as I had calmed down, my dear son wouldn't let me off the hook. He blinked his eyes and chased after me, asking, "Daddy, why are you afraid of teacher Sophia?" Who said I'm afraid of her? To stop my son from asking more, I quickly changed the subject. "Why don't you explain to Daddy why you got such scores?" "Who taught you? Little Samuel?" My son nodded affirmatively. "Daddy taught me." "Me. And it's also inherited from Daddy." "Me," I said expressionlessly. "Your teacher Sophia also deserves half the credit for this." My son sighed like a little grown-up. "Daddy, not shirking responsibility is a basic principle of being a person. You taught me that." "Me? Great, my son didn't inherit Sophia's intelligence, but he learned how to get the better of me perfectly." I finally managed to comfort my son to sleep. I called Jack with a glum face. "It's just a parent-teacher meeting. Is it really that bad?" Jack seemed to be eating something. His words were a bit slurred. I said numbly, "I met Sophia." Theft. A sound came from the other end of the phone, followed by Jack's frantic coughing. "Who? Sophia?" "The former top student and campus beauty Sophia from our school." "Where did you meet her? Did you rekindle your old relationship?" I sneered. "Rekindle our old relationship? She's my son's homeroom teacher now." "Jack? What? Didn't she get a direct promotion to complete her bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees at the school?" Why is such a talented person working as an elementary school teacher? "Did she recognize you? Did she recognize your son?" I was speechless. She definitely recognized me, but my son looks just like me. How could she possibly recognize him? I thought for a moment, undated. And besides his face, my son has fully embraced the nature of being a poor student there. As really nothing about him that's similar to her. Finally, I said despairingly, "I'm afraid I'll be called to the school as a parent countless times." After hearing what I said, Jack, who had been worried before, burst out laughing. "Who told you to lie to her that the child had died when he was born and then secretly keep the child? You deserve it. The silly child always has to meet his homeroom teacher. Or rather, his homeroom teacher who's also his mom." I hung up the phone expressionlessly. If it wasn't for him, why would I have chased after Sophia in the first place? The next day, after my son came home from school and we were having dinner, I asked worriedly, "Son, did your teacher ask you anything today? Did she talk to you alone?" My son looked at me blankly, tilted his head, and thought for a long time before saying softly, "She didn't ask me anything. She just asked us to fill out the student information form. As a homeroom teacher, it's normal to collect student information at the start of the semester. That's very normal." "Then son, if you have time, could you secretly ask other teachers why teacher Sophia is your homeroom teacher? She doesn't really seem like an elementary school teacher. It's not just that she doesn't seem like one. Someone who could have become a future scientific research talent is really overqualified for this job." I thought my son would nod in agreement. But unexpectedly, he suddenly raised his hand proudly. "Mommy, I know the answer to this. Our teacher Sophia came to North City for something and found this job temporarily. I'll leave once she's done with her business." "She's going to leave?" I heaved a sigh of relief. Thank goodness the tough days will soon be over. But thinking about Sophia teaching, I remembered those days in the past when, in order to be with Sophia every day, I overestimated my abilities and took advanced mathematics as an elective with her. Mathematics was my weak subject, and advanced mathematics was like a foreign language to me. and Sophia wanted me to understand it thoroughly. She could patiently explain a single test paper to me 3 times without getting annoyed. In the end, at the end of the semester, as a poor student, I actually got a score that I never thought I could achieve, God knows. Except for that lucky time in the college entrance examination. I had never gotten such a high score in mathematics since I was a child. However, I managed to escape from Sophia's intense teaching methods, but my dear son has fallen into the same situation. The more I thought about it, the more disheartened I felt. I silently picked up a drumstick from my son. Son, you've been working hard on your studies. On the weekend, a classic chaotic scene played out at home, pure mayhem. The reason, doing homework, seeing him dawdling, I was filled with irritation. Samuel, if you keep this up, I'll call your teacher Sophia and might hurt it yourself. I wasn't going to actually hit him. I can't intimidate him, apparently. My son really fell for it. This little body trembled, and his face showed an expression of pain that I hadn't seen in years. Then he started to focus on his homework. He was as obedient as could be. I was at a loss for words. Then I picked up the spatula and was about to start cooking. Just then, the doorbell rang. Son, go and open the door. My son ran to the door with a thud. 3 seconds later, I heard him shouting at the door. Daddy, you're lying. I've been doing my homework properly. What on earth was going on? I came out of the bedroom in confusion. What are you talking about? Hurry up and do your homework properly. When I saw who it was, I was stunned. Home visit. Those 2 cold words made my son and I both tremble with fear at the same time. Sophia glanced at me fearfully. Is it convenient? The spatula in my hand trembled twice. It's not convenient. But Sophia showed no sign of leaving. Under her indifferent gaze, I felt my ears gradually heating up. Great. I still haven't gotten rid of the bad habit of blushing when I lie to Sophia after all these years. My attempt to stop her failed, and she stepped right in. I closed the door dejectedly. When I turned around, I saw her squat down and pat my son's head. What are you doing at home? Daddy is helping me with my homework. Sophia's hand paused noticeably, and she looked up at me. You're helping him with his homework. Her tone was slow and deliberate, and I could sense the amusement in her voice. I gave her an annoyed glare. I might not understand advanced mathematics, but I can surely handle first-grade elementary school math. Is it just the 2 of you at home? Sophia's gaze swept around the living room. I, of course, knew what she was getting at. However, before I could say anything, my quick-tongued son nodded eagerly. Yes, just me and Daddy. Sophia nodded and then asked my son to take out his homework. Teacher will help you check it. I watched in amazement while my son went into the room. I finally couldn't hold back and said sarcastically, Right, Teacher Sophia is really dedicated. Doing a home visit so late at night. It's my duty. You. Ray, welcome. Me. What duty? I once again regretted my quick tongue. At the same time, I secretly wondered how I could get through this situation. Several mistakes were found in Samuel's homework. You work less with this question. Be more careful next time. Upon hearing those familiar words, I instinctively looked up at her. Sophia smiled casually, tapping the test paper with her fingers idly, as if what lay on the table wasn't a test paper but a precious scroll of painting. My heart seemed to start beating faster. Sophia, no matter how many years had passed, could still make my heart flutter so easily. I shook myself out of my trance and was just about to break the atmosphere, but my dear son spoke up first. Daddy, I got this question right just now. You tricked me. His cute and handsome little face was full of grievances. Oh. It seemed he was right. My face instantly turned red, and I was so embarrassed that I wished I could dig a hole with my toes. Like creating a Legia keel of streaming room. Sophia suddenly curled her lips into a smile and glanced at Samuel. You'll get used to it. Me. After that little episode, I watched as Sophia continued to go through the test paper. I couldn't help feeling nervous. It was as if, in that instant, I was transported back to that sweltering summer. Sophia was helping me check my advanced mathematics homework in an empty classroom. Her delicate eyebrows would alternately relax and furrow slightly on her elegant face, and the ceaseless chirping of the cicadas and the sweltering heat outside the window seemed insignificant back then. I only had one thought in my mind. I could admire Sophia's beautiful face, which was adored by countless people, at any time doing some math problems. Who's afraid of that? Every time. She would spoil the moment. What are you looking at? See how many mistakes you've made. I playfully covered the red crosses on the paper with my hand. What else can I look at? I'm looking at you, Sophia. At that time, although Sophia's mouth was tightly closed, the smile in her eyes couldn't deceive anyone. Recite the formulas. Her cold voice rang in my ears, and I almost blurted out those advanced mathematics formulas that I had memorized so well after I finished. Both Sophia and I were taken aback for a moment. Then, the corners of her lips lifted into a barely noticeable curve. Daddy, what are you talking about? Do I have to recite them too? My son looked confused. Sophia put down the test paper and praised him in a cold voice. Well, recite it. I'll do a random check next time. I made an excuse about washing the fruits and fled in a hurry in the kitchen. I felt so annoyed with myself that I could have slapped myself. Henry, you were the one who initiated the breakup. Why is your heart racing now? Even though I loathed myself for it after washing the fruits, as I passed by the study, I instinctively took out the advanced mathematics book that I hadn't thrown away. When I realized what I had done, I was at a loss. Just like that, I came out with the advanced mathematics book under my arm. I saw Sophia leaning against the sofa in the living room, looking at me with a calm expression. Where's Samuel? He's gone to bed. I let out an oh, and felt her gaze fixed on me, making me a little nervous. I pushed the fruits towards her. Sophia, about the grudges from the past. Sophia interrupted me calmly. I won't bring personal grudges into my work. I'm here this time to collect family information. I pursed my lips. Go ahead and ask. As far as I know, Samuel is from a single-parent family, right? I unconsciously gripped the sofa cover tightly this time. She was silent for a long while. What's the name of the child's mother? This time, it was my turn to be silent. The name of the child's biological mother, Sophia asked again. I suddenly laughed. Do you think this child is yours? There was a deathly silence in the living room. Miss Song, aren't you afraid your current boyfriend will be unhappy if you ask so many questions? I said this on purpose, hoping to drive her away. She looked up at me, and her voice turned even colder than before. I've only been in one relationship. I was stunned for a moment, but she didn't look at me anymore. She stood up and left. Henry, you'd better take care of yourself. It was only when the door closed again that I slumped onto the sofa in a daze. In fact, back then, I never wanted to break up with Sophia. Sophia was a year older than me. When we were in love, it happened to be the time of her graduation. She had always been excellent. So when Evelyn came to me and asked me to break up with Sophia, come downstairs, I'll pick you up. My mind went blank, and I didn't even know how I got downstairs. After Sophia picked me up, she fastened my seat belt and comforted me. Don't worry. It's normal for children to fall and get hurt. But my face turned pale. But he has poor blood clotting function. Sophia didn't reply this time, but she stepped on the gas and drove much faster. When we arrived at the hospital, the nurse was shouting for blood plasma outside the operating room. Unfortunately, the hospital was running low on blood plasma. Who can donate blood for the child? We need type AB? I clenched my fists and was just about to speak. Sophia stood up. I'm type AB. The doctor heaved a sigh of relief and was about to take Sophia away when I directly grabbed the doctor. Doctor. She can't donate blood. I'll find someone else. The doctor frowned, and Sophia looked puzzled. That I was in a difficult situation and couldn't explain. I knew the common sense that direct relatives couldn't donate blood. Sophia might not know it, but I definitely did. The doctor was about to say more, but fortunately, Jack arrived. He was also type AB. He gave me a reassuring look and then pulled the doctor to go donate blood. I finally let out a sigh of relief, but Sophia spoke up beside me. Why won't you let me donate blood? My heart sank suddenly. It was Sophia who had taught me during our college days that direct relatives couldn't donate blood. I looked up at her and sure enough, she was already suspicious. I forced myself to stay calm and looked at her intently, enunciating each word. Because I don't want to owe you. Sure enough, as soon as I said those words, her suspicion vanished after all. She knew my character well. She was silent for a while before reluctantly saying, "Sorry, I was negligent this time." I shook my head. It was my fault. The teachers in the kindergarten were well aware of the situation. But I forgot to inform the school about Samuel's health problem after he started primary school. And this time, it was probably because the children were playing around and he accidentally fell and got hurt. But I still couldn't help blaming myself. I should have reminded her again. Halfway through my words, I couldn't hold back my sobs. I didn't know before, but when he was 3 years old, he got injured too, and he almost... I turned my head away, trying my best to hold back the tears in my eyes. I didn't even want to think about those days in the past. Samuel was really smart when he was a child and learned things very quickly, but ever since that accident, my mindset had changed. It didn't matter whether he did well in his studies or not, as long as he could grow up healthily. That was enough. The doctor had said that as long as we worked careful and he didn't get hurt, everything would be fine. But now suddenly, a pair of gentle hands landed on my head and patted it a few times. I looked up in a daze and Sophia said, "I'll stay with you." At that moment, I couldn't help but hug her and burst into tears. By the time I stopped crying, Sophia's shirt was all wet with my tears. I'm so sorry. I felt a little embarrassed, but Sophia naturally took a tissue and wiped my face for me. Half an hour later, the doctors wheeled Samuel out. "Doctor, is my son okay?" The doctor took off his mask and looked visibly relieved. His injury this time is quite extensive, but luckily the blood transfusion was timely. He's out of danger for now, but he still needs to be observed in the hospital for a few days. In the ward, I looked at his bandaged wound and couldn't help feeling heartache. Sophia stayed with me. "You should go home early." "I'll be here." Sophia let out a sigh for no apparent reason and didn't move an inch from the bench. I tried to persuade her. "It's okay. Jack is here to hear. I'm my son's godfather, and he takes care of him even more attentively than I do." Maybe those words convinced Sophia. She nodded and then walked out with her long legs. I heaved a sigh of relief just then. Jack walked in, pressing on the needle mark on his arm. "Why did you let Sophia go at this time? Even if she didn't fulfill her responsibilities before, now that she clearly..." I covered Jack's mouth. "Be careful not to wake up your godson." Jack gave me an annoyed look and reluctantly stopped talking after everything was settled in the hospital. I let out a sigh and was about to go buy some daily necessities, but to my surprise, as soon as I stepped out of the ward, I saw Sophia walking over with the paper bags in her hands. I was taken aback. "Didn't she leave?" Jack was even more surprised. "Have you two made up?" "Dude," you lied to me and said. At that moment, my eyelids were twitching nervously. I was so afraid that Jack would say something inappropriate. Sophia said, "I bought some toiletries and food." Jack nodded in approval, and I was just there, thinking, what do you mean by... I wanted to stay and take care of my son, but Jack insisted that he could handle it. He eagerly pushed me out and told me to accompany Sophia downstairs. There were only the two of us in the narrow elevator. I felt a little uncomfortable standing behind Sophia. I could only stare blankly at the changing numbers on the elevator display, but Sophia turned around and caught me in the act. She pursed her lips, and her expression turned slightly cold. Do you really not want to stay with me that much? No, no. I shook my head repeatedly. She had just helped me so much, and it would be too heartless of me to say yes. She nodded and handed me her phone. Add me on your phone. I looked at her in confusion. As his homeroom teacher, I need to keep track of this situation at all times. Sophia straightened her back and didn't even give me a second glance. It was as if she was a completely different person from the one who had comforted me. Gently at the door of the emergency room just now when I got back to the ward, Jack immediately leaned in with a gossipy look on his face. So, had you two made up? It's not nice of you to hide it from me. I twitched the corners of my mouth, not knowing how I felt. No, she asked, just doing her duty as our son's homeroom teacher. Is that so? Jack pointed his chin at the food on the table. Is a simple homeroom teacher really going to remember someone's favorite crab and hot pot from the restaurant near the university and go all the way to buy it? And look at these Talon water cup TSKDSK. I stared blankly at the things on the table. The crab and hot pot was from the restaurant near our university. I used to go there with Sophia quite often. I looked at the little dog pattern on the towel in the water cup. I suddenly felt like crying. Sophia, when we graduate in the future, let's move out and buy everything with little dog patterns, okay? No. Sophia showed a look of mild distaste and pushed the couple's water cup with the little dog pattern I liked aside. I gave her a look and deliberately only bought one of the couple's water cups. But when it came to paying, Sophia awkwardly handed over the other cup. Pay for both together. Thinking about how happy I was back then, I now felt a pang of bitterness in my heart. A girl like Sophia is really hard to come by. Besides, hasn't she only been in a relationship with you? That proves that the guys who chased her later didn't succeed and come on for the sake of the child. Jack pointed at my son who was lying on the bed. This is your trump card. After hearing that, I felt even more frustrated after all. In Sophia's mind, this child was born to me and someone else. I couldn't exactly show her the DNA test, could I? Since Jack had donated blood, I sent him home later while my son was sound asleep. I sat on a bench downstairs, staring blankly at the moon. Sophia and my son, this mother and son, really knew how to tug at my heartstring, especially Sophia. What should I do? As I was thinking, someone came up to me. I was startled and turned my head to meet Sophia's eyes. What are you doing here? I just got here. Sophia expressionlessly pulled me up. It's cold outside. Come to my car. No maid. I tried to pull my hand back, but Sophia gave me a warning look. If you get sick, there'll be no one to take care of you. I pursed my lips and didn't say anything, letting Sophia pull me to the parking lot and then get into the passenger seat of her car. There was a complete silence in the car. The faint scent of soap on her body suddenly calmed my heart. Why did you come here so late? I was passing by. I nodded and didn't say anything. It took me a long while to speak again. Yijuan is still upstairs. I'm going up now. But to my surprise, as soon as I opened the car door, Sophia suddenly grabbed my wrist and pulled me back. You. Sophia leaned over and closed the car door as she passed me. I could see that the coldness between her brows was gone. There was also a faint smell of alcohol on her. I frowned. Did you drive here after drinking? I drank after I got here. Before I could ask further, she spoke first. Henry, don't you have anything you want to say to me? Sophia leaned most of her body towards me, getting so close that our noses almost touched. My heart skipped a beat, and I tugged at the wrist she was holding tightly. Henry. The corners of Sophia's lips were tightly pursed, and there was a slight redness in her clear eyes. I dodged and turned my head away, but was forced back by the confined space. Do you really want to avoid me so much? It wasn't hard to hear the anger in Sophia's suppressed voice before I could explain. Sophia's red lips suddenly pressed against mine. My mind went blank, and I stood there in a daze after a long time. Sophia finally pulled away her lips with red eyes. Why on earth did you break up with me back then? Sophia's bright eyes suddenly dimmed. Was it because of... She paused. The child we lost. I opened my mouth, not knowing where to start, just as I was about to speak. My phone rang again. Daddy? Why am I in the hospital? Where are you? I'm so scared, I quickly said softly. Daddy is downstairs and will come up right away. Be good. Don't be afraid. After hanging up the phone, I said, He's awake? I need to go up and check on him. You should go home. After thinking for a moment, I added, Remember to call a designated driver. I had just gotten out of the car and walked a couple of steps when I heard the sound of the corridor closing behind me. I turned around and saw Sophia running towards me. I'll go with you. And Sophia and I entered the ward together. Samuel was a little nervous. Daddy, teacher song. Samuel's face was still a bit pale. I walked up to him quickly, feeling and touched his forehead. It was still a bit hot. Teacher Song was worried about you and has been keeping watch over you. 2 small dimples appeared on Samuel's pale little face. Thank you, Teacher Song. I glanced at Sophia, and she turned around to find the doctor soon. The doctor confirmed that Samuel was not in serious condition and just needed to stay in the hospital for 1 more day for observation. I let out a sigh of relief after the doctor left. Samuel fell asleep again. Sophia and I stared at each other, looking at the only empty hospital bed left. I hesitated for a long time before speaking. How about you go home? I don't think there will be any problems tonight. You can come back tomorrow. Sophia sat on the chair and casually flipped through the magazine beside her. You go to sleep, don't you worry about me. But I was just about to object where I suddenly remembered what she had said earlier. Do you really not want to stay with me that much? I swallowed the words that came to my lips and pointed to the accompanying bed. It's getting late. If you don't mind, you can lie down undressed for a while. Sophia looked up at me after a moment of silence. She put down the magazine in her hand and laid down. The moonlight shone on her slender figure, and I was unconsciously a bit dazed under the pretext of taking care of her. I took a few more glances at her, admittedly. I had my own ulterior motives. Time passed by minute when I drowsily checked my phone again. It was already 2 o'clock in the morning. I got up and walked to Samuel's bed to tuck in the corner of his quilt. As I passed by Sophia, I instinctively took off my coat and covered her with it the next second. Just as I was about to leave, I saw a pair of fair hands grabbing the hem of my clothes. Henry, how about? Please squeeze together. It's too cold at night. She said this awkwardly, and a blush immediately crept up to the tips of her ears. I said the wrong thing. Just pretend I didn't say it. She immediately tried to make up for what she had said, but I had already skillfully taken off my shoes and socks and lay down beside her on my side at that moment. I could feel my heart pounding loudly. However, out of politeness, I still moved aside a bit. Sophia didn't react much soon. Even breathing sounds came from beside my pillow, but as she slept, just like in college, she unconsciously nestled into my arms again. By the light of the moon, I looked at Sophia's eyebrows and eyes and unknowingly fell asleep. To the next morning, I instinctively wanted to stretch my legs. Somehow I thought of Sophia in my arms and stopped immediately. As soon as I stopped, I woke up completely. When I looked up, I met Sophia's intense gaze. Good morning. I awkwardly moved away from her, but she stared at me intently. How did you sleep last night? I half-jokingly teased. Sophia still stared at me. It was okay. It might be even better if I could sleep like this every night. I stopped rubbing my face, surprised by her straightforwardness. My mind went blank, and I stuttered as I spoke. I'm going to wash up first. I splashed cold water on my face several times, but instead of the heat on my face subsiding, It seemed to spread, slowly turning my ears red. When I came out again, Jack had already arrived. Sophia nodded in greeting and then turned to me. I'm going back to school in the morning and will come back in the afternoon. As soon as she left, Jack couldn't hold back. So, how was it? Anything happened last night? I coughed softly and touched my nose, feeling guilty. What could happen in the hospital? Don't talk nonsense. On the day Samuel was discharged from the hospital, Sophia accompanied us to take Samuel home on the way. Woo! Jack suddenly came up with another idea. Henry, Sophia has taken care of our son for so many days. Shouldn't we treat her to a meal? My hand on the steering wheel paused, and then I secretly glared at my friend before I could say anything. My son, who had returned to his mischievous self after recovering, kicked his legs excitedly. Let's go have Western food. Sophia didn't say anything, but her gaze also turned to me. I had no choice but to turn the steering wheel and drive in the opposite direction of home. We were going for Western food in his excitement. Jack even ordered a bottle of red wine. The point was that he didn't drink it himself, but kept persuading me to drink after the meal. Most of the red wine ended up in mine and Sophia's stomachs. I was staggering on my feet when it was time to pay the bill. Jack pulled my son and shook his head in disgust. Why did you get so drunk, Sophia? Why don't you send him home? My dear godson, you're staying at my place tonight. I was stunned. What? Didn't I deserve to stay at Jack's place? After we got downstairs, Sophia sent away the designated driver. There were only the two of us left in the car. The atmosphere gradually became more intense. I looked at her eyebrows and eyes and felt more and more attracted to her. I couldn't hold back and stammered, Hey, you want to come up and sit for a while? Before I could finish my sentence, she opened the car door and got out as soon as we entered the house. I was pulled by a force, and when I reacted again, I was pressed against the wall by Sophia. Sophia lowered her head, and our noses were almost touching. Her gentle breath, and across my face, my cheeks also gradually heated up. I thought something was going to happen, but unexpectedly. What about the explanation you promised? I pursed my lips, meeting Sophia's gentle eyes. The pent-up frustration in my chest suddenly seemed to rush to my head. I actually struggled and freed my hands. I'll tell you then. Sophia looked at me steadily. I took a deep breath before daring to tell her what had happened back then. Although we were deeply in love, your mother was right. Your future shouldn't be delayed because of me. So, Sophia, I don't regret breaking up with you back then. I had a stubborn look on my face. The tip of my nose couldn't help feeling sore. Sophia was stunned. You mean my mother asked us to break up? She was silent for a long while before she took out her transfer application document from her phone. Do you know why I applied for a job as an elementary school teacher with a doctoral degree? I came here specifically to find you. I just wanted to know the reason for our breakup back then. And my mother helped me get this transfer document. Now, not only was Sophia stunned, but I was too, so I blurted out instinctively. In that case, why did she threaten me with the child to break up with you back then? The child. Sophia's eyebrows furrowed instantly, and her gaze fixed tightly on me. I immediately covered my mouth, but my scalp couldn't help tingling. I didn't mean to drive a wedge between their mother-daughter relationship after all. From a mother's perspective, our breakup back then was definitely the right choice. A deathly silence spread between us just as I was about to say something. A clear ringtone broke the silence. Sophia answered the phone, and Evelyn's voice came through the other end. Although I made many mistakes back then, I regret it now. I just hope that you can pursue your own happiness. So, when will you and Henry bring my grandson back to visit me? Sophia stared at me, gritted her teeth, and let out a soft before hanging up the phone. So, Samuel is our son? I nodded. Back then, the only way I could get your mother's consent to keep Samuel was to break up with you. I withdrew my gaze. thinking that Sophia would be angry with me for hiding this from her, but unexpectedly, the next second, her gentle kiss landed on my lips. "Thank you, Henry." Before she could finish, I reached out and dropped my arm around her waist. Then I picked her up in my arms and walked towards the bedroom. "You're welcome. Let me explain it to you properly in another place." After a lot of explanation, Sophia stopped, gasping for breath, but after stopping, she seemed hesitant to speak because she now had a troublesome academic underachiever son. Samuel. Sophia's beautiful expression was all twisted. Not knowing what to say, finally, she looked at me steadily, her eyes as gentle as water. "Hey, it's nice that our son looks like you." I was pleased to hear that. So we're both equally responsible for him. I wasn't wrong about that at all. Sophia completely lost her temper and took me to the mall to carefully select a cart full of gifts before going home. Before she met our son as his homeroom teacher. And now she was a newbie mother. Sophia carefully presented toy race cars, Transformers, Lego blocks, and other toys in front of her son. Samuel was taken aback, as if he was questioning why these were toy race cars instead of exercise books. I felt a pang in my heart with tears in my eyes. I explained to my son in a whisper the truth that Sophia was his mother. My son was stunned, his eyes wide open. Jack, on the other hand, looked at our family of three with a gratified expression, extremely satisfied. Finally, my son looked at Sophia and asked carefully, "Teacher Song, didn't you come here for something temporary? Will you leave after you're done?" I could tell that my son was worried about losing her this time. It was Sophia's turn to have red eyes. She looked at me, then at our son, and finally laughed. "Mommy came here to find Daddy." "I didn't expect to find Daddy and also gain you, Mommy. I'll always stay by you and Daddy's side and won't leave." I couldn't help but smile. As soon as my son heard Sophia say that, he immediately rushed into her arms excitedly. He was overjoyed. "Great. I have a mommy now, and my homeroom teacher is my mom. I'm so cool." Sophia and I looked at each other and smiled. Everything was understood without words. For the rest of our lives, we have plenty of time to be together.